I wasn't going to bring you a video today. A lot of little things going on, nothing major. We're entering horses in Scioto. We were entering horses in the Meadows, getting horses prepped for this week at Northfield and all over the place. Looking ahead to see who's going to Kentucky, when we're going to train them up, what we're going to do. And always have updates, people asking, what's this horse doing? What's that horse doing? In New York is one. I think I'm torn, and I have to make a decision in the next couple hours. Do I school in New York tomorrow at the Meadows and bring him to the Red Mile, or do I train him tomorrow at Northfield Park? Now, there's pros and cons for both. My take on in New York is this. I suspect he'll go down to the Red Mile and trot in 57 and a piece, 58 his first start. Will that put him in a position where he's competitive? That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I think I planned on and still plan on racing him a couple of times and turning him out, letting him see the gate, get a little bit of experience, and then letting him grow up and mature. A couple of these horses, it allows me. Today is the first day in what feels like years, but definitely a week or more, where I got to just be left alone. Amy, it's Oliver. It's my son's birthday today. Oliver, you guys may or may not know that. He has baseball tonight in Ontario, so they had to leave this afternoon. We were planning on going out to eat breakfast, but I just had too many horses to jog at the barn, so I told Ollie, I'm going to Ontario tomorrow right after the qualifiers. We'll talk about that stuff in a minute, but I'm going to the qualifiers at the Meadows tomorrow, and immediately after the last qualifier, I'm heading to Ontario. I'm going to drive all the way to Georgian Downs. I'm going to drive Simply Chaotic and, I guess, Delicious Stone DK tomorrow night at Georgian Downs, and then immediately after the race, I'm going to go directly back to Guelph. Now, I've booked off the Meadows. I only had Melisandre. Again, not the most favorable. That's a salty little class too, but not the most favorable draw in 6. Sean Johnson had driven her last week. Surely you can drive her this week. And if I had a bunch of our horses in and a bunch of drives, well, that would be different. But I had Melisandre and one other drive, and I'm sure I would have picked up something. Somebody had said to me the other day, it was a fair question. They said, you go to drive at places, are you not actively looking for drives? Not really, no. I would never tell anybody, no, I'm not driving your horse, but I don't actively seek out drives that much. And when you pick up the sheet and you have 1 or 2 drives and you end up with 7 on the program, what that means is somebody has picked over 5 other drives, and now you are driving something that somebody didn't want to drive. Now, a penny found or saved is a penny earned, so it all counts. But at the same time, I've been driving long enough. I don't really get a big thrill out of just going around the track, right? Going on the track at 10 or 12 or 15 to 1 doesn't really excite me that much. So as I said, I would never say no, but I'm not going to actively seek out drives at tracks, especially when I don't even know where I'm going to be from day to day. So Tuesday after Georgia, I'm going to make my way back up to Guelph. Ollie is playing baseball Tuesday night also. It's just one of those things where I'm always going to put my family first, but there's an opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to miss this ball game, but I'm going to get a chance to try and square away Simply Chaotic. See if there's something I can see that just isn't meshing well. He made that break last time before that he wasn't that good. Is there something we can do to fix that? I want to believe the answer is yes. It's much like I told you 3 weeks ago with Rico Tubbs. I had seen some things that we can improve on just in the short time I sat behind him in that maiden race. We changed them. The horse goes out and wins in 57. These are the types of things I want to see when I'm in Georgian Downs also. And since I don't have a lot of time to go back to Ontario and go with horses from time to time, if I do get an opportunity, it is important. And although it's only a maiden, it's only an overnight, and it's not a big deal, it is to you. It is to my partners with Simply Chaotic, and it is a big deal to me. So this is the first day where I've actually just had a chance to sit down. Amy and the kids are gone back to Ontario for the next 4 days for sure. It just gives me time just to think where I need to be, what I need to do, how I'm going to do it. And that's what I'm doing right now. So, got into the barn today, jogged 4 or 5 horses that I wanted to go with, that I wanted to look like. Gaslight Hall, I thought looked very good. The last time I saw Gaslight Hall, he, his knees always bothered him, so he always started out pretty rusty, right? And to work him into it, and he was fine after that. Today, he was actually very good. But as I said to Jason messaged me, he said, Gaslight Hall's first also eligible. I said, okay, what class did you enter him in? He said, no, where's the 4 or whatever. He said, they're going to go 55, 56, but he'll be good. I said, I'm glad he didn't get in. I think it's important that we differentiate between what we could do and what we need to do. When it comes to Gaslight Hall, he needs to win. He needs to be in where he can maul them, so to speak. I told Jason to put him in the condition claimer on Saturday night. 30 claimer, his tag is $45,000 US. I think that's more than fair. From where I'm coming from, anyway, from what I'm looking at. He's a nice horse, but I think that's pretty close to a seller's price as far as I'm concerned. Maybe a little more. Certainly not a buyer's price. So, in a class that should suit him very, very well. So that's where he's going to race hopefully this week. That'll be Saturday or Sunday night. I'm not sure. Resolve Indeed also goes on Saturday night. That'll be the condition claimer we spoke about. She's over here. So I guess for all my partners, if you own more than 4% of Gaslight Hall or Resolve Indeed, please, you have to get licensed. Everybody knows that. I don't know who that actually will affect in regards to the ownership, but if you do own 4% of either of those 2 horses, you will need license for Ohio moving forward. For the foreseeable future, my plan would be Gaslight Hall, win, go back to Ontario and race in the grassroots with a full head of steam and a belly full of confidence. That's what I'm hoping. Anyway, that's what I would like to see from Gaslight Hall. So we covered in New York, covered Gaslight Hall, touched on a number of things in my videos throughout the weekend. Kentucky is coming up. I suspect you are going to see the 3 fillies race. I don't have the dates in front of me, my apologies. I can only tell you the one date for sure, and that's Captain Incredible will race on August the 3rd. I think one of the groups of horses will race on July the 28th, and another group on the 26th. The one question mark I had today was, I'm going to be watching Jolene Hall very closely tonight. 3rd in her first Buckeye. She won her, or I hope she wins her 2nd Buckeye. There's a couple of tough ones in there again tonight. But what do I think about this filly? She is a dark horse. And I say that after sitting behind her, I just think there's a lot more bubbling under the surface with this filly, and I think she could be a very, very nice horse for us. And in saying that, some of the dates in Kentucky, actually, because she is dual eligible, some of the dates in Kentucky actually bode well. So I guess a lot will go into what she does tonight. Great conversation with somebody today about the Arden Stakes coming up, who we're putting in there. Millie Girl is in the maiden on Thursday. That's a great spot for that filly. Great spot for that filly. She looks like she's in a great spot. Great position. Looks like she's more than she'd be one of the favorites in there, I would imagine. Another filly, I'd like to race her 2 or 3 times. So getting back to that, you see the maturity of the horses. Some of the horses have lingering issues that bother them. Some horses are filling out and going through growth spurts. I see that with Tomboy Strong. She's growing again. Could that have played a role in last night? It's possible. So you have to look at what's available, what the horses are going to be available for, when they're going to be available for those, and then aside, just personally speaking, how are the horses themselves? Any horses with lingering issues that we find you're going to have to manage all year long? Well, is it worth managing those continuously, or should we just step back and say, okay, you can go out in the field for a little bit, I'll see you in a couple of months type thing. I'll see them in a couple of months, you won't see them for 3 or 4. Lingering breathing issues with some of the horses. I apologize. I said, oh, Blue Rare must be in tonight. She's not in at all. She's schooled on Friday. James said she schooled good. I spoke to James briefly, but James was quite a bit more chatty before the eliminations of the Adios than he was after, sadly. His horse made a break, and then catch drive he didn't have much luck with, so it was frustrating for him, I'm sure. So he wasn't very chatty afterwards. He just said she schooled good. Initially, Austin Sorry said he couldn't make it to Kawartha Downs to drive her. He wasn't planning on going, but I had asked him, hey, I believe, I don't want to overplay my hand, because she's coming off fixing that entrapment, schooling, and if I know James, it was probably 2-3 last quarter in 29 seconds, which annoys me to no end, but she's relatively ready to go. So initially, Austin had told Dominic that he couldn't make Kawartha Downs, and I said, hey, do me a favor. I said, this is a filly I really, really like. Would you do me a favor and go and drive her at Kawartha? I said, surely, I think he's still the leading driver in Canada by wins. I said, surely you're going to pick up drives at Kawartha, and these are grassroots immense races. I don't want to tell you she's a lock, but this is a filly I thought was our best filly, or one of our best fillies training down, and has now found herself into a grassroots situation in her second lifetime start. If you're thinking about going, I'd appreciate it. So I was doing my best to ask him, hey, could you go, without saying you should go, because I don't know how good Blue Rare is going to be on Saturday. I assume she'll be good. She did scope a little mucus and no blood on Friday, so they're cleaning up the mucus for Saturday's event. So that's where we're at with Blue Rare. Diosdado Danza showed a little bit of blood. I forgot to tell you guys this because it happened after. Uncle Danny showed a little blood. Initially, it was just mucus. Then we trained him a slow mile, and there was a couple of specks of blood found there. So I think what had happened was Uncle Danny, after he raced last week, did bleed a little bit, but we scoped him maybe 25 minutes after the race, depending on how long that scope is on the veterinarian in Scioto. If you go down far enough, you say, I don't see any blood in the airway. Lots of mucus, no blood. Blood was further down. And as he aspirates, as he breathes, right? I don't know if that's the right word. I think it is. As he breathes, you'll see some of that come up. So then we trained him a slow mile after we put him on a course antibiotics, just a very slow mile. He seemed good to me. But being thorough, I said, I want every horse scoped today that we trained. I said, there'll be no stone unturned from here on in. If you have a question, I want it answered in regards to our trainers. We scoped them. Sure enough, there was a little bit of blood there. So that was fixed. Two horses we'll be watching this Wednesday for sure. And then the horses I thought Emerald Tom. I like Emerald Tom on the bigger track. I'll be honest about that. I do. But at the same time, he trained very well. And Supermind, I thought, trained really, really strong also. Now, frustratingly enough, we get a couple of 7 holes with Uncle Danny. Going to have to take Uncle Danny back. Supermind, I'll probably take a look leading the 8 and see what's going on in his race. I think he's as good as any trotting colt out there. I believe he is, anyway. Uncle Danny's not too far behind. I'd like to see a big mile from him. And then Emerald Tom obviously floored me last week with the mile he went. So there's 3 quality trotting colts right there. Where are they going to race? We have the State Fair coming up. Jason just messaged me, Tomboy Strong, State Fair, question mark. Well, she hit that jack last night. We can cover that up. But do I really want to come back Sunday, back Saturday? That's a tough division, right? You know who's going to be waiting there. Philly and Nancy's will be there. All those other strong fillies will be there. Do we really want to go to the Ohio State Fair with Tomboy? I guess the easiest way to answer that is, okay, when's the next Stallion Series? Or Buckeye? When's the next Buckeye race? I'll look at that when we get home to the calendar. I just left the text from Jason open, and I'll respond to him once I get a look at the calendar. If that's the only race in between a 2 or 3 week period, then yeah, go ahead, let's race her. Forgot to tell Linus to put aluminums on her. He was done for the day anyway. Wow, this guy is really in a big hurry. What else do we have? Mostly just getting horses ready. I'm excited with Hanger 1 tomorrow. I looked at his toes yesterday. They were a little bit long, but I don't want him shoeing him close to the qualifier for sure before his qualifier. So in my mind, he'll qualify and then come back to Northfield Park. We'll get him shod properly, the way we have him shod, and then he'll go down to Kentucky. I will go down to Kentucky to race him. There might be him in New York. Steady Volo. I trained him a quarter of a mile today. We changed his shoes, and I just wanted to get a look at him. He actually trained up at just a quarter. I don't want to stretch him out too much, but he seemed good to me. So where am I going to be? That's what these days help me do. I need to go home, look at the overall calendar. I don't know if you can do it on your Joanne staking site, but I can look at the calendar for every horse. So that's all just, July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, everything that's going on that day, all the way through to the end of the summer. And I need to have a strong look at the rest of the month of July and the first part of August also. And of course, now our hunt for a second Gold Cup horse has turned into a hunt for our only Gold Cup horse with the injury to Save America. I got an update from the surgeons today. Everything went well. I talked to Dr. Brown for about 10 or 15 minutes about Save America. He said 30 days he can ship back, and at the 30-day mark he can win the pool, which I misunderstood. I thought he said 45, which is fine. After he's done his pool session of 30 days, then you re-x-ray, see where you're at with that. Now that's an answer for everything after that point would be him. What does he believe should happen? How does he believe it should take place? And we'll go from there. But very good news in that regard with respect to the resolving of the fracture, and now we're into a rehab situation. He'll sit for 30 days. I know Dr. Brown said he could ship in a week or so, but I don't really think I want to ship him a long period of time, a week after that. So I'm just going to leave him alone until the last week of August, and then we'll ship him back up to First Line Training Center in Ontario, where he'll begin rehabbing in the pool. And then after he's done that 30-day rehab stint in the pool, then we'll revisit the x-rays as per his request and formulate a ground plan, if you will, to get him back where he was. Now, I'll reiterate what I had told our clients last night, and that is that Dr. Brown believes there's nothing that he can see in the x-rays that would stop him from getting back to where he was before he got injured. Yeah, we're just going to back right out onto the road. Okay, cool. Anyway, that's me in a nutshell today. Just getting time to pull some of those balloons down out of the air, tie them all together, and then try to get the clearest view I can of the playing field moving forward, and then off to my periphery. I know it's there. I can't deny it's there. Obviously, the yearling sales. I can't believe I just said that. The yearling sales down the road. So I understand. If I haven't got back to you yet, there's times when people send me a program page of a horse that's in the sale, Lexington, Harrisburg, whatever, I don't know. And they'll say, hey, what do you think of this horse? If I haven't got back to you, I apologize. Maybe resend it. It's just been here. You see another ding. You just see one thing after. It's just been one thing after another. The last 2 weeks, and I think it happens every year. More, maybe every tiny little thing that gets piled on at this time of year that I wasn't expecting to be there creates just a little more stress. And then you factor in the trip to Cooperstown and Ollie playing baseball and all the kid stuff going on. I think it's just a little more than I was used to this year. In the last 10 or 14 days or so, I've just been a little on edge, to be honest. A little on edge. So we got our races tonight. The one thing I have to tell myself as we go into tonight's races is, of course I want to win them all. But let's have a good showing from all the horses tonight, right? What's our best plan of attack for all our horses tonight? And that will be job number one. Rule number one. Don't break rule number one tonight. If we can do that, we'll be fine. But try and put the horses in a good spot to do the best they can, right? Our expectations are high, but don't let your expectations drive the race for you. We really have to put our horses in a spot to do the best they can tonight, and that's exactly what I'm going to try and do. So as I pull onto my road and get back to the house here, it's 2:30. I'd like to go back to the barn early for our early horses. I want to go last trip with everything tonight. I want to make sure that I sit behind everything. I want to make sure that I'm comfortable with what I see as we head to the gate tonight at Northfield Park. So a few more horses racing. We also have JK Victory at Grand River Raceway. So good luck to everybody tonight. As I said, a little more subdued, focused Anthony today as I get a chance to just pay attention to everything that is going on. So I have a formulated plan for anybody. If I missed any updates, I get a lot of people last day asking about Captain Doolittle. I told everybody, listen, I love the horse Captain Doolittle. He's a trier, he's a worker, he's made it much further than we all thought he would make, let's say in January. But now he's got to turn that corner, right? He's got to turn 2 minutes into 58. I was hoping he would do it. I thought I could will him into doing it. And it's not out of a lack of trying or working. He's trying, he is working. But there's a couple of horses too, as we got horses that need to go out to get matured. There is a couple of horses that I'm watching that may have to leave at some point. That's inevitable. But for the most part, very happy with what I've seen so far. Excited about tomorrow. Excited about trying to get Solidarity squared away. I think the horse that I saw trained was the other day. Maybe it was that he gets spooked when the horse dropped down in front of him. I found it hard to maybe comprehend at the time, but I'll give him a pass. But tomorrow he's got to do his work. And of course, Hanger 1. Just really, really excited about qualifying him tomorrow also. So a big day tomorrow. Tonight, first and foremost, get the horses out of the way with the Buckeyes tonight. Qualifiers tomorrow morning. Off to Georgian Downs tomorrow night. Then I get to celebrate Ollie's birthday tomorrow with him. Take him out and get a bite to eat after his ball game. And then stay in Ontario Wednesday morning. Back here Wednesday evening for the races with the Colts and Diosa Della Danza. And then Thursday Meadows. We only got 2 horses in at Scioto. Jason told me Gorgeous Package is in, as is He's a Fearless Peter. I can't make the first one, so I just told him to put Tyler Smith or whoever's available, any of those guys, on the horses. They'll be fine at Scioto. So I will not be going to Scioto. I'll be staying at the Meadows on Thursday. Friday, that's a tricky one. Looks like the Meadows. We have a number of horses entered. We'll see how that plays out. And then, of course, Saturday afternoon, Meadows. Saturday evening, I believe, Northfield or Scioto. I'm not positive yet. Sunday night is obviously Northfield. And now we're getting into Kentucky also. I got to figure out which day I'm going to Kentucky. So I can get it done today. Today's a little more somber, a little more quiet. So I have some quiet time to myself to get that figured out. So I hope you guys have some quiet time also. I hope you had a great start to your week. The weather is great again today. And hopefully we have some luck tonight. Take care.